Before I'm done today, I have two hopes. One is that I don't cry. Two is that you see yourselves slightly more clearly than you did before you walked in this room. There's not a single thing I can tell you about how to do good in college, because I didn't go. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I don't have an associate's degree. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So please don't sit here and assume that just because I'm up on this stage that I can actually help you get through the next 4 years as a student. But if you'll stay engaged with me for the next 20 or 30 minutes, what I do think that you'll gather is that the next 40 years is something that you can wildly control. Because up till now, you haven't had much control. Most of you are probably around 18 is my guess. 18, 19. You were living with parents, guardians, family. You had somebody else taking care of you, providing that roof, telling you what to do, what time to be home, what you could and couldn't wear, the kind of music you should and shouldn't listen to. You've had a lot of influence in your life that has tried to control, for lack of a better term, who you turn out to be. The best part about sitting in this seat is everything can change as soon as you want it to. You have your entire life ahead of you. I know that many of us, I was 18 once, believe it or not, before all the gray hair in my face. And I thought I knew literally everything about how to be a human. I was stubborn as hell. You couldn't tell me what to do, where to go, who to talk to, who not to talk to. I thought I knew literally everything. I didn't have the greatest support system personally. My dad was a heroin addict until I was 21 years old, and he ended up dying 5 years after that. My mom was on different drugs. Both my parents, I basically grew up in bars. That's not really an exaggeration. That was the lifestyle that my parents chose. My mom actually died in 2008. My dad died in 2009. Totally unrelated things. My house was pure and utter chaos. I was free to do and go wherever I pleased. I didn't have a curfew. I didn't have to check in. I really didn't have great guidance as a young person. So part of my stubbornness was because I was already doing the job. And in my opinion, I was doing it better than the people that were supposed to do it. My guess is that there may be some of you in this room that have some version of relation to my story, where your parents didn't quite get it right. My dad owned his own business. He worked a lot despite his drug addiction. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until my parents split up when I was 8. My mom ended up leaving my dad for his best friend. That was awkward, I know. And I grew up calling him Uncle Paul. And so you can imagine the awkwardness in public when my mom was kissing Uncle Paul. It was not exciting. There was a lot of chaos happening. When my mom left my dad, obviously it was wild between those two. They couldn't see each other, they couldn't speak without wanting to rip each other's heads off. My guess is that some of you can understand some of these parts of my story. Broken home, addict parents, just the lack of control in your house. Maybe it's just a certain level of chaos that you had to experience over and over and over. Maybe it's the echo of your parents fighting or your guardians fighting. All of this is out of your control. All the while, you're growing up to be a human and an individual. You're trying to figure your own stuff out, which is hard enough as it is, even with a peaceful home. Because I imagine that some of you did have nice homes, parents that are still together, decent upbringing, a safe environment to grow up in. And even if that was your experience, trying to figure out who the hell you're going to be is hard enough. And then we have the outside voices that don't really have any real power over us. Those outside voices live through TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and social media. They're people who flaunt things that they don't really have. They're people that pretend to live a life that they don't really live. I could have gotten up here and told you any story I wanted, and you would have believed it. Because I'm lucky enough to be invited to stand on this stage in front of you. But one promise that I make to every group of people that I ever speak to is that I will tell you the truth. At least the truth about my story and my experience. You're going to be comparing yourselves to millions of people over the next 4 years. You're going to be comparing yourself to people that you see on social media, people you see in class, people on your teams. Am I as pretty as that person? Am I as good looking as that person? Am I as talented as that person? Why do they have what I don't have? Why do they get to have what I don't have? It's a great question. But you just have to understand the lens that you are asking this question. Because the lens through which you ask that question is that most of us are pretending that we have it all figured out. We want to appear that we've got it together. For a lot of you, this is your first time not living at home. You're free-ish. You have the ability to make decisions that you no longer had, that you previously didn't have the ability to make. And if you let this idea that you're not good enough be the one that controls you, you will make terrible life decisions. If you allow the story that you tell yourself to be a story of you not being good enough, you will make terrible life decisions. When we work from a place of desperation or insecurity, we're trying to fill a bucket that's never fillable. There is not an amount of money on this planet that will make you truly happy. There is not an amount of attention or fame that will bring you ultimate fulfillment and satisfaction. There is no TikTok stardom that will actually improve the quality of your soul. Will Smith recently said, somebody was asking him about what it feels like to just be him. The amount of money that he's made, the amount of fame that he has. And he said, at some point, you have all of the money in the world. You've purchased all of the things you've ever dreamed of buying. And at some point, you just have to figure out how to love yourself. Because the lesson that he was able to learn actually is that the things that we try to fill these buckets with is insufficient. Fame, money, a college degree, a job title, they were never intended to be the thing that satisfies your soul as a human. A partner can't do that. I'm very fortunate to be a dad. My son is a little wild spitting image of me. But he doesn't even satisfy me. I made him. And he doesn't satisfy the thing that I have inside of me that only I can fulfill. One of the things that I want to challenge you guys with is an ability, a willingness to be kind to yourself. We live in a very divisive space in the world. It's easy for people to go, I sit on this side of the room, or I sit on this side of the room. I believe this thing about the world. I choose this camp to rest in. And here's something that you'll find as you go through college. You sit across from one person who doesn't believe what you believe. They have different beliefs, different worldview, different political, religious, whatever belief. You can have a peaceful conversation across the table from one person that you don't agree with. You add two people, it's war. As you start to understand things about yourself, as you start to see yourself clearly, and you're kind to yourself, what I hope that it allows you to do is to also see the world through a lens of kindness and understanding. Somebody once told me, seek to understand before seeking to be understood. That's a very polite way of saying shut your mouth sometimes and open your ears and let somebody finish what they're saying and explaining their side and their position, and then respond. There's a lot of diversity in this room. It's beautiful. Outside of the beauty, what it challenges, though, is that there's the potential for a lot of war, a lot of enemy, a lot of I don't like that type of person. I don't like that type of music. I don't like that type of clothing. The only reason that we treat people poorly is because we don't know how to treat ourselves with love and kindness and grace. When we possess that inside of ourselves, loving other people is super easy. Because you don't have anything to prove. Takes all the pressure off of having to choose a side. Takes all the pressure off of feeling like you're insufficient just because somebody's different than you. And I promise you, with every breath that I will ever take, the most valuable time you will ever spend is inside of here. Past my upbringing, which I shared a little bit about, I didn't go to college traditionally. I don't have a degree. I did go to art school at 32 years old because graphic design's fun. So I have had a very non-traditional path. I got married at 30, divorced at 35. I have a 10-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter. I was a pastor for 15 years. Feels like a lifetime ago. And I've had an opportunity to do this, what I'm doing with you today, since I was your age. First time I ever stepped on stage, I was 18 years old. I love being up here. Not because it's a stage. This is my home. You'll find things as you grow that make you light up, that you step into them and you know that that's the thing that you're supposed to be doing. Mine is this. I could do this for hours and never get tired. A lot of people stand on stage and they shake and get nervous and they feel all butterflies in their stomach. There are very few things that are more exciting to me than being able to share parts of my story with people. Back to the challenge about yourself. I have 13 affirming cards in my hand. I created this deck of cards years ago. It's called 52 Card Pick Me Up. And I created it because I needed it. I didn't create it because I thought it would be cool or that I would even sell a lot. I made it because I needed a tool to get closer to myself. The words on these cards, I'm going to read them out loud. And for the one that makes the most sense, for the one that resonates with you the deepest, I want you to hold these words in your heart. I am ready. I am resilient. I am content. I am willing. I am worthy. I'm going to give this one to all y'all. You are worthy. I'm going to say it one more time. You, as individuals, not as a room full of people, you as individuals, I'm trying to look most of you all in the eyeball while I'm saying this, are worthy. And maybe nobody's ever told you that before. And if not, you're worthy. I am attractive. I do look good today. I am loved. I am capable. I am whole. I am creative. I am healing. I am smart. And I am optimistic. Man, I've made some dumb decisions. This is not one of them. I'm 42 years old. I don't have very many regrets, but man, do I wish I could turn back the hands of time a little bit. And the thing that I would go undo is the amount of people that I hurt. I've hurt so many people. One of the things that pushed me to becoming this version of myself, who had to learn how to heal. I had to learn how to be still and silent. I had to learn practices like meditation and yoga, things I never thought I would do. Because if I didn't, I was going to just continue to hurt myself. And by hurting myself, I continued to hurt people. Part of my story that's not so glamorous that led me to this journey is I cheated on my ex-wife. Never in a million years did I think I would do that. Literally never in a million years when I got married did I think that I would do that. My dad did it to my mom did it to my dad, my uncle did it to my aunt. Everybody's done it to everybody in my family. And I was like, I'm going to be the one who doesn't do that. And I did. I hurt my ex-wife so bad. We're friends now, which is great. It's taken many years for her to forgive me, for us to find a place where we can co-parent well and get along. I think we have much more love for each other as humans now than we probably even did when we got married because we've been through so much. Grateful that my son gets to see two happy, healthy parents that don't hate each other. But that decision to cheat on my ex-wife was the catalyst that drove me to figuring out why I was so broken inside. Why I felt so broken. I don't know that I actually believe that we're broken as individuals. I think we're unfound. I don't believe that we're broken. I believe that we're yet to be found inside of ourselves. You're going to experience a lot of things in the next 4 years. Who you think you are today and who you're going to be the day that you graduate are not the same. You will be a different human in 4 years. Some of you for the better. And some of you will make decisions that make that worse and harder. And I hope that that is not the case. Statistically, it's just true. But the encouragement is that every single one of you gets to make the decision which way you're going to walk. When you go home to your room, I want each of you to look in the mirror. And I want you to say out loud with words your first name and your last name, and then the words, I love you. After I left my ex-wife, I didn't know how to forgive myself. One day I stumbled through the words, Dennis Allen Gable Jr. I got stuck on the word. I didn't know how to tell myself that I loved myself. I was 35 years old, and I didn't have the ability to say, Dennis Allen Gable Jr., I love you. If you can learn that practice at your age, your life will be an incredibly different experience than it would otherwise. The first time I said it, I bawled. Cried for a long time. Mostly because I was scared, and other than that, because it felt so good to be able to say that. There's something incredibly powerful about the uniqueness of you. The quick math is that 1 in 4 trillion become a human. You have a 1 in 4 trillion chance of existing. Outside of that, there is nobody like you. I'm off the stage trying to be close and more in your space so that you can really feel these words. There is nobody like you on the planet. That is worth celebrating. And I'm going to backtrack to something I said a few minutes ago. There's nobody like you. You are the most unique thing on the planet. And yet what we do is we're going to compare ourselves to every other unique individual and wonder why we're not them. We do it all day. My 10-year-old son does it. He sits on YouTube and is like, Dad, why is that not me? I'm like, because you're you, bro. You don't want to be that person. You want this. And he's like, yeah, Dad, but I'm not like that. I know. It's beautiful. We're going to take a time out. Stand up if you can. If you moved here from further than one state away, raise your hand. If you moved here internationally, raise your hand. Man, that's cool. Some of you had to really, you can put your hands down. Some of you had to really journey to be here. Even if you grew up 45 minutes away. You have to journey to be here. The road ahead of you is one that you get to pave. You get to decide if you're going to be kind to yourself, if you're going to be kind to others. You get to decide what you're going to value in terms of the interaction and connection that you build with people. What will you value about those interactions? You get to choose who you become as an adult. If any of you choose to have children someday, you'll get to choose what kind of parent you are. You can sit down. I was just letting you stand up for a minute. There was actually no point in you standing up other than just to move your body a little bit. One of the things that I do when I speak is I just sort of breathe in the energy of the room. I had zero idea what I was going to talk about before I opened my mouth. I know my own story. I know the things that matter to me. I don't have an outline. I didn't take notes. It's my best attempt at letting you guide what you need to hear. And this is what showed up. So my guess is that There's a truth inside of this room that comparison is very real. That many of you take the time and energy to look at other people's lives and wonder, why isn't that me? Why am I not that person? Why am I this person? My guess is that there are some of us in this room who look at our physical beauty and discount it because it isn't somebody else's physical beauty. My guess is that you second guess yourself all of the time. One of the greatest gifts that you will give to yourself is kindness. And I know because, dang it, I'm not going to cry. And I know that it's one of the greatest gifts you'll be able to give to yourself because it's one of the hardest things to do. Good things are often hard. The parts of being a human that make the most sense and mean the most to us and the people around us are challenging. And I assure you that being kind to yourself is challenging. I assure you that sitting across the table from somebody with an entirely different religious or political belief than you and having a peaceful dialogue and walking away with a hug can be challenging. I assure you that not taking advantage of other humans can be challenging. There are lots of pressures that you're going to face. Some of you will never even remember that I was here. But some of you, this is the day that you'll actually look yourself in the mirror and utter the words, "I love you." I added to that phrase. I now say, Dennis Allen Gable Jr., I love you, you are more than enough, and you are not too much. Because my whole life, people have said, shut up, stop dancing, sit down, go outside. Just stop, do less, be quieter. I had to learn that my too muchness was a gift. If the house that you grew up in wasn't loving and supportive, let me tell you that I'm proud of you for being here. I don't remember ever being told I'm proud of you. It's something that I value deeply and that I say often. I'm proud of you for being here, for taking the step to enter into this part of your life. For some of you, you'll be a first-generation college student. You'll be the first one in your family to graduate from college, for some of you. What a beautiful thing to achieve. For some of you, you're only here because your parents told you you had to be. And that's okay too. Some of you are here because you're athletes, and it's the next logical step in your athletic career. Some of you are here because you're really passionate about something specific that you want to study. And all of us are here because we get the opportunity to be human together. Take a minute and just look around the room. I'm not going to say any words for like 30 seconds. Look around the room. All the different types of humans, all of the different upbringings, the different styles, the various shades of our skin. Some of you don't have any connection in this room. This is the start. Be willing to go out of your way. Be willing to strike up conversation, because you might just find out that somebody who you judged initially is your best friend. You'll like the same kind of music. You'll like the same kind of art. There will be something that brings two wildly different people into a friendship. If I stood next to my best friend, you wouldn't believe he's my best friend. We are very different, my best friend and I. I've known him for 25 years. We have been through literally hell and back together. And we would have never become friends if we just judged each other by how we looked, by who we thought the other person was on the outside. So it's likely that your next best friend is sitting somewhere in this room. Friends that you'll have for life. Take advantage of this opportunity to be kind to yourself, to other people. Practice vulnerability when you have the opportunity. With yourself first. Being vulnerable with yourself is a very important skill. And dang, kick college's ass. Please. Or it's going to kick yours. It's one of the reasons I didn't go. For a couple minutes, I would love for us to have dialogue. You can ask any question. Here's a rule. Only ask questions that you want the answer to. That's a rule that I have in my house. When my son figured out that there was no more Santa Claus, which if I just ruined that for somebody, I'm so sorry. He asked me when he was 8, "Dad, is Santa real?" And I said, "Only ask me questions you want the answer to. You sure you want me to answer that question?" He goes, "Nope, I'll ask you next year." I said, "Okay." So there's no rule on this question. You're able to ask me literally anything that you want about any part of my story, and be it appropriate, I will answer any question that you have. Yes?
My question is, a lot of times in life, we as humans, we get to a point where we feel like the world's falling on us, everything's going wrong. Can you speak on changing your perspective and understanding that not everything is going wrong, that maybe this is a lesson or a positive in disguise? Can you speak on that?
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Alex Cross.
Alex Cross. That's a great question, and I like your shirt. What Alex said is that we often feel like life is barreling down on us. We can't quite get much right in certain seasons. Things are coming at us that were unexpected. We make some dumb decisions maybe. There's stuff going on that we can't seem to get out of. And instead of potentially looking at it as a lesson, we look at it as a curse. Like it's happening to me. Why is this happening to me? There's a really great quote that I saw that I think will answer your question. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, how can I grow from this experience? Some of you have had really hard lives up till now. And I'm sure that you've asked the question, why me? Why is this happening to me? I know that I did. My dad was extremely abusive when I was growing up. And I would wonder, why me? Why would you hit me? I've asked that question a lot. I've also lived a relatively challenging life generally. To speak to Alex's question, one way to change the perspective when things just aren't going the way that you wanted them to go, or when life seems to be kicking you directly in the face over and over and over, is to have a perspective of an open mind of growth and of education, of willingness to learn, of willingness to maybe change your opinion, of willingness to maybe not believe that you're worth bad things happening to. Because I think that's a pit that we fall in from time to time. Of course this would happen to me. The amount of times that I hear people say, of course that happened to me, it's just my luck. That is a stupidly pessimistic thing to say. There's nothing just about you that would make a negative thing happen. Because you're worthy of being loved, of being appreciated. You're worthy of being kind to yourself. You're worthy of forgiving the people that have hurt you. One of the biggest lessons about forgiveness is it's never for the person who hurt you. It's always to free yourself from the jail that they put you in. Forgiveness is your key to freedom, not somebody else's. You're worthy of that sort of love. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Yes.
How the thought of like in these 4 years you will be a completely different person, it's a little intimidating. How would you deal with that?
Oh, what's your name?
Ella.
Ella? Ella asked how you deal with the pressure and the reality that over the next 4 years you're going to be an entirely different person because it's intimidating. Open your arms and smile, baby. If you try to hold so tightly to this version of you, like, let's be real. Until we're somewhere between 24 and 30, our cognitive ability to make really good decisions lacks. There's a part of our brain called the frontal lobe. It's our decision-making portion. You want to be different in 4 years. Because that means that you're evolving. It means that you're growing. It means you're learning. It means you're allowing the impact that the world is having on you, that your friends are having on you, and that you're having on yourself is blossoming into something new, right? We're like a constant field of rejuvenating flowers. Who I am today at 42 years old is nothing like I was at 35. The caveat is that I'm the same person, right? I have more gray hair in my face. Outside of that, I pretty much look the same. The sound of my voice is the same. My sense of humor is amazing, obviously. But I'm different. I have evolved. I planted new seeds and new flowers grew. And if you look at it from that perspective, I think it'll be less intimidating. That this growth and evolution over the next 4 years is the experience of a flower blooming. It's not the pressure that you have to be different. It's just opening your arms and embracing the beauty of that evolution. Does that help at all?
Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes.
I wanted to ask you how you got into public speaking. You glossed over that you were a pastor for 15 years. So I wanted to ask you, like, what gives you the courage or the inspiration to be able to stand up here and tell your story?
It's a great question. What is your name? Haley? Kaylee. Thank you, Kaylee. Kaylee's question is, how did I get into public speaking? And how do I stand up here and tell my story in front of a room of strangers, especially potentially judgmental strangers? 18-year-olds don't have the greatest track record for being kind to people my age. You know what I mean? Just kidding. You guys have been a great group of people to be with today. When I was 17 years old, I took a public speaking class because I thought it was going to be an easy A. Mind you, I did not do well in school, generally. I graduated with a 2.4 GPA out of high school. I found my way through high school, barely. I wanted an easy A, so I took a public speaking class, and the teacher's name was Mr. Goldstein. He knew that I thought it was going to be an easy class, and he made it my personal hell. Every time that I would do a presentation, he would give me an F, tell me I had to redo it. He would nitpick me so tightly on my ability to speak in front of the class. Shortly after that, after I graduated, I was in a band for 4 years. That's how I got really comfortable on stage, was that experience. And then I was a pastor. I did gloss over that part of my story because it just feels like a lifetime ago. But being able to do this is something that I was very good at naturally. And telling my story, this is a beautiful question. Thank you. The vulnerability of telling your story is the connecting point between you and another human 100% of the time. It's not until you share a part of your story with somebody else that they have an ability to know you, and vice versa. Vulnerability is scary. The word literally means to be wounded. The ability to be wounded is the origin of the word vulnerability. So when we're vulnerable with people, we're afraid that they're going to hurt us, especially if we have an experience of other people hurting us. But I promise you, from the bottom of my heart as a stranger who you don't know personally, the practice of vulnerability is the most beautiful practice on the planet, and it is so, so challenging. So for me to be able to stand up here and tell parts of my story, the truth is that it's just fact-telling. There is a certain level of vulnerability in that, because I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're going to say about me later. I don't know any of that. It's the risk that I take to share facts with you about my life in hopes that we have a connecting point and my ultimate message of being kind to yourself and others resonates with you. Did I answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Jamie.
Jamie, nice to meet you.
My question is, how do you deal with the outside noise of developing through this time and people thinking how you're growing, if that makes sense? You know what I'm saying?
Their opinion of your growth? Jamie's question is, how do you deal with the outside noise and people's opinions of your growth? I have an appropriate answer and I have a non-appropriate answer. I'll share both. Maybe. I'm just waiting for Jocelyn to do this. One of them is with confidence. I am deeply insecure about certain things. I am wildly confident about others. We went to dinner last night with Jocelyn, and she was like, "You excited?" And I was like, "I'm going to crush tomorrow." There's just no doubt in my mind about certain skills, certain things that I'm doing. There's a confidence in there that is totally unshakable. Through this process of growth and evolution, you have to have a confidence that you're moving in the right direction. The only way to have that confidence is to build trust with yourself. The only way to build trust with yourself is to stop breaking your own heart. The only way to stop breaking your own heart is to hold to your boundaries and do the things you say you're going to do. There are studies about self-trust and its direct correlation to our self-esteem, our ability to like ourselves. We lose like for ourselves because we don't know how to trust ourselves. I'm going to go to the gym at 5:30 tomorrow morning. You wake up at 6 and don't go to the gym. Broken trust. There's grace there. There has to be. But these are the places where we break our trust. I'm going to get on a better diet and I'm only going to have one cheat day. At cheat day number 2, broken trust. I'm not going to let that ex hurt me again. I'm going to have better boundaries. When you respond to their Snapchat, broken trust, number 3. I'm going to do my schoolwork like I say I'm going to. Your first missed assignment, broken trust, number 4. Do you see how these can stack on one another? We can break our own trust 100 times in a day. And it's not until we learn to build that trust back, just like with any other relationship, that we'll find the confidence and the safety inside of ourselves to keep moving in that direction. That's the appropriate answer. The inappropriate answer is with 2 middle fingers in the air. And it's the ability to just understand and know that you are moving in the right direction and there's nobody that's going to stop you. One kind of has to come before the other, though. Did I answer your question, sir? Yes.
Last question.
Yes. Okay. Last question. I'm out of time.
Okay, so I have a question. So with your tattoos, did anyone ever like judge you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like you regret any of your tattoos?
What's your name?
Lee.
Lee. Lee's question is about my artistic skin. And if people have judged me, if I regret my tattoos, this is a fascinating ending question. I know that some of you in this room understand the feeling of prejudice. You know what it feels like for somebody to look at you and not approve of you or accept you or appreciate you because of something that is you. Could be the color of your skin, could be your height, could be where you grew up, the neighborhood you grew up in. It could be a lot of reasons. I too have experienced some prejudice because I'm tattooed. The difference is that I did this to myself. I very willingly made decisions to put art on my body in places that people tell you don't put art on your body. So I have experienced some prejudice. I look at it in a way of being self-induced, though. I chose to do this to my body, right? I don't really regret any of my tattoos. I do have a cover-up of one because it was a wedding tattoo that my ex-wife and I had. Not a wedding, a marriage tattoo. She covered hers up too, so no harm, no foul. But I don't regret any of them. I actually very much enjoy them. They're a fun part of my individuality. Because sort of like me, nobody has these markings on their body. And they may have something similar, but it's certainly not in the same place. That's a great question. I'm gonna end by saying, yes, sir. Go ahead.
How do you get out of bad days?
How do I get out? What is your name? Pero? Quick last question. Sorry. The question was, how do I get out of bad days? I'm going to give you a very, very simple answer. Go do something you enjoy. Go laugh with your friends. Go outside. Move your body. Create a piece of art. Create a piece of music. Play video games. Something that you really enjoy is the easiest way to get out of a bad day, in my opinion. Okay? All right. I went over on time. We're going to do this quickly. I appreciate you all so very much. I've meant every word I've said about being proud of you, about your personal worth. I hope that we had parts of our story that allowed us to build a little trust over the last 40 minutes. I hope you'll take the opportunity to stare yourself in the mirror later and say, I love you to yourself. I really do challenge you to do that.